All right, it's the top of the hour, so let's get going. I want to welcome you to this tutorial about how to engage doctors through medical associations. I am recording this right now in May of 2020, and I indicate that now because things are changing so rapidly. I'm Dr. Vicki Rackner. I leverage my experience as a practicing surgeon, clinical faculty at the University of Washington School of Medicine, and serial entrepreneur to help financial advisors accelerate their growth by acquiring more doctor clients. So today I'm really about how to engage doctor prospects and acquire doctor clients without wasting your time, your money, and your efforts, even if you've had disappointing results in the past. So probably the number one question advisors have for me is, how do I get my message in front of more doctors? And as I think of prospecting, I sort of think about going out fishing. I want to catch salmon. You'd learn about the life cycle of the salmon. You'd figure out what kind of bait and tackle to get. And then you would figure out what kind of fishing holes you wanted to go to. So today, basically, we're going to talk about medical associations as fishing holes, and these are ideal fishing holes for you. They've always been ideal fishing holes, but what makes them even more important is at this time of uncertainty, the medical associations have been providing leadership to physicians. So physicians are very engaged in their associations. They're turning to the associations, and the associations in general have been proactive in offering resources. So there's a lot of problems today. They're working on creating solutions. You've got solutions. And so the challenge is, how do you make this connection? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So you're in the right place. If you see the potential of associations, but you really haven't tried it in the past, you're unsure of where to begin, or maybe you've even tried to build relationships with associations that didn't pay off, or maybe you've had just bad results in the past. Well, this still can be done, and today I'd like to lay out the elements about how you can be successful with medical associations. And I am sharing information that is actually working. Excuse me. So I am working with advisors who are building relationships with these associations. Okay, first let's step back though and ask the question, what do you need in order to acquire doctor clients? Well, you've got to overcome the high barrier to entry. So you've got to get past the gatekeeper. You've got to engage busy, distracted, and distrusting doctors in conversations. And then once you begin the conversation, you've got to rapidly build trust. So remember, doctors behave like tropical fish. They tend to congregate together and move together under the same direction of the leader. And they do this for the same reason that tropical fish do it. It's to offer protection against predators. Most doctors, myself included, have been the victim of financial predators. And so many of them would prefer to get their advice from somebody that they already trust to take good care of patients, rather than somebody they don't know that they can trust, who actually has the expertise that they need. So you've probably discovered that the rate at which your practice grows is the rate at which you build trust. And part of the way you build trust is to bring the right message to the right person at the right time. Right now, we're in a time of turbulence. You know, I think back 15 years ago to the day my dryer malfunctioned, and it overheated and set fire to my entire house. And I just watched from across the street as my house burned. Well, this is the experience many doctors are having today. They are just watching the life and the career that they once knew just being annihilated. And it's being annihilated in different ways for different groups of doctors. But if you can go in with the fire extinguisher, if you can offer solutions to their immediate problems, you have a great way of engaging them and, offer a helping hand to doctors who may not have been accessible to you in the past. Further, it's important for you to know that there are basically two groups of doctors today. There's the doctors in the trenches actively treating COVID-19 patients. And then there are the doctors who are flattening the curve by being at home and canceling their elective cases. So you've got doctors who are at home, often worried. Some of them are investing in their own education, they're investing time with their family, but they're investing time to figure out solutions to these problems. So you can actually get a doctor on the phone right now. You can have conversations through LinkedIn. You can engage doctors through Facebook. So these are extraordinary times, and they're times of extraordinary opportunity for you. So let's specifically talk about how to engage doctors through medical associations. And it may well be that it will be a while before medical meetings resume. It may be that once they resume, they are virtual meetings, but doctors do get together right now regularly and share information. So we're going to talk right now about the associations, but please know that there are educational formats that you can plug into. I think that we're going to have to wait for a time in which things are a little more settled before you can move in that direction, but I want to give you the elements so that you can do that. So medical associations have unique qualities that make these ideal fishing holes for you. The primary one is that when you are in association with a medical association, you enjoy a halo of credibility. So a doctor might not open your email or come to your educational event or get your educational resource, but if it's sent out through the medical association, they will open that email. They will have a higher level of trust with that, and you sort of earn your badge as a medical insider. So this is huge. Further, medical associations have some unique qualities. The associations have lists of doctors. Now, they might be able to rent their list to you, but if you're delivering the right value, they can deliver your content to their lists. So for example, probably the best marketing tool that I have ever developed are these books, The Myth of the Rich Doctor and the 9 Money Mistakes that Doctors Make. Some of you here on the line have made the investment to write a custom foreword and afterword for it. And with this, you get 2 digital versions of the book. The first is a complete book, but the second version of the book is the book through the first chapter with a call to action. If you would like more information, go here and sign up to get the complete book. Well, I've had financial advisors have medical associations send out the book to their entire list. So this is incredibly powerful. You have the opportunity of gaining access to doctors that would be very difficult to contact on your own. Second, doctors belong to associations and they participate. The reason that they participate right now is that they need answers, they need solutions. I'm personally a fellow of the American College of Surgeons, and they are delivering twice weekly bulletins right now, content filled. They'll give you the most up-to-date information about the federal programs. They've convened this practice protection committee. Yesterday, I watched 2 videos from leaders in the academy who are sharing things like, what's happening with the residency programs? How are people navigating the reopening of elective cases? It is hugely valuable. And it's hard to get this information. So doctors are actually opening up these emails to find out, what should I do today? So doctors are participating, doctors are opening the emails, and doctors trust associations. So, back 50 years ago, the big association, of course, was the AMA, the American Medical Association. That's not the going place right now. Only about 30% of doctors belong to these associations. The most visited associations are the medical specialty focused associations. Doctors generally congregate on the basis of medical specialty, but I will show you other associations that are very active right now. Further, you've got a lot of ways of reaching doctors through association. So many of them have publications. You can publish your articles. They might allow you to share your high value content videos. They may distribute your content. You may be able to deliver a presentation via webinar. This is something many associations are doing right now. This will allow you to network with power partners, and you can get physicians to show up to your educational events. So again, bottom line, medical associations today are offering leadership. This is sort of the main water cooler. The doctors in the associations recognize that they cannot do everything alone. So for example, the printed recommendations in the American College of Surgeons when they talked about how to navigate the federal programs is, listen, doctor, why don't you get together with your own financial advisor, with your own tax strategist, and find out how you can implement this? Well, once I saw that, I had this idea. Well, maybe my private coaching clients should be approaching the executive directors of the state levels of the American College of Surgeons and say, hey, look, I see that you've got these printed recommendations. I am here. I'm in partnership with Dr. Vicki Rackner, who's a fellow of the American College of Surgeons. Listen, we would be happy to do a webinar for you. We would be happy to be a resource. Can we have a conversation? And the great news, I've actually had an advisor who is now in conversation with the executive director in New Jersey. So this can and is happening. So why is this important? Well, these societies and the associations are sort of the place where doctors share resources. So as a practicing surgeon, I belong to state state associations, national, regional, but the local places were really where the action was happening. So for Seattle surgeons, it was the Seattle Surgical Society. We would have regular meetings. There would be a social hour, a scientific talk, dinner, and then an after dinner talk. And obviously these meetings are not being held right now, but I expect they will open up maybe in the next 3 to 6 months. But most of the business of Seattle Surgicals was done at this social hour. So I know somebody who actually signed an employment contract on a cocktail napkin at an event like this. Surgeons here can bring guests, and imagine if you absolutely delighted a doctor and the doctor invited you to this meeting. You could potentially go home with the business cards of a lot of doctors who would say, hey, can you call me? Because your delighted doctor will say, hey, here's John. John did just an amazing job for me. You need to talk to John. And if you are going to doctors with the kinds of ideas that I'm distributing to you in the newsletters and the emails that I'm sending to you, you are developing this kind of reputation. You are developing this kind of trust. Okay, so you might want to know, okay, well, how do I join? And if you go and look at membership criteria, it says that membership shall be by invitation only. So right now you are actively going out, speaking with doctors, offering real solutions to doctors. And in that way, you are building trust. And so in so doing, doctors are going to spread the word about you. And I believe that there is going to be the kind of opportunity for you to go in and network at that social event, or maybe even deliver that after dinner talk. During the financial crisis in 2008, there were bankers who went in and delivered talks. There's going to be lots of opportunities sort of every day, every conversation that I have is sort of bringing new shocking information. So on Monday, it was the news of a physician being terminated because he was 65 and the hospital did not want to assume the liability of having 65-year-olds on the hospital wards. This morning, the shocking news was that doctors who are getting out of their residencies and fellowships, they are having their job offers withdrawn. Can you imagine? This is May. Can you imagine you thought you had plans for what was going to happen July 1st, how you were going to generate revenue, and suddenly that offer disappeared. So there's no shortage of ways that you can help people. Okay, so networking in medical associations is leveraged relationship building. So you could potentially get on a huge platform and get your name in front of huge numbers of doctors. So you can connect with the many. You can leverage your time. This helps you become the go-to guy or gal, because if you are networking within the association, you've already got this halo of trust. And as time goes on, you can turbocharge pretty much any campaign that you're delivering. So what I'd like to share with you, the real meat of this presentation, is the framework for strategic relationship building that can lead to client acquisition. So let's just walk through this step by step. Part of this calls on the 10 laws of physician engagement. Obviously, we don't have time to go through that, but I'm happy to send that to you. The first thing that you want to do is conduct yourself like the high performers in the medical market. The high performers don't try to be all things to all people. They focus. Probably the easiest way to focus is by medical specialty. But what's most pertinent right now is a doctor's ownership stake in the practice. You might have value that's best delivered to employees. And remember, today employees are being furloughed. Some of them are experiencing pay cuts, and now we're facing the possibility that aging physicians may be terminated. I'll just remind you that last month, the Mayo Clinic, who's the largest employer in the state of Minnesota, projected a $3 billion, with a B, $billion shortfall for 2020, and they are responding to that with furloughs and across the board pay cuts. The clinicians are getting a 15% pay cut. The executives are taking a 25% pay cut. So think about what's happened in the last decade. A lot of independent physicians have sold their practices to clinics and hospitals because they thought that they were selling their autonomy to buy job security. And now they're finding that is in fact not the case. I project that we're going to see a trend back to physicians in private practice. But anyway, you might have specific programs that you can offer to employees. For example, many employees might not know that they are underinsured with the benefits package that they are offered. So you might want to approach them and show them how they can be properly insured. But the biggest business opportunity for you is probably the physicians in private practice. It's probably the specialists here. The highest paid professionals here are at home, so that you can actually reach them and you can actually find them. Okay, so next you want to find the associations. So once you know where your focus is, you can just Google, ophthalmologists, medical associations, and come up with a list. Now, most physicians belong to multiple associations. So there are national associations. These are generally that's the level in which the solutions are being formulated. But physicians can also belong to regional associations, the Northeast, the Northwest. Then there are state associations and local associations. So you want to begin your search on the national association level so you get a sense of what the association is about, what their agenda is, what kinds of programs they're offering, and sort of the lay of the land. But the action that you will take is either on the local or the state level. So you can find associations on the basis of all sorts of things. Medical specialty is the most common, but there are other associations, and I'll just give you a couple of examples. They might congregate on the basis of gender or religion or skin color or even country of origin. And some associations have sort of deeper and richer content than others. So the best association website, the best prospecting that I've found is the American Academy of Ophthalmology. So not only is there a general membership, but they've got segments. So they've got segments for senior ophthalmologists. They've even got a publication. So if you are trying to target boomers or retired physicians, they've got a list and they've got a platform for that. If you are working with younger ophthalmologists who have very different financial concerns than the senior ophthalmologists, there's a group for that. Maybe you like working with white coats, and they've even got ophthalmic executives. So that's a great association. But there are other options. There was a pretty amazing article in the British Medical Journal a couple of years ago about the differences in incomes of physicians in the United States by race and gender. And the shocking news was, even if they compared like full-time cardiologists to full-time cardiologists, there was a significant difference in the annual income between white men and anyone who wasn't a white man. So a white woman, a woman of color, or a doctor of color, we don't really understand why, but you might feel committed to helping these groups achieve financial parity. So there are groups. I personally held a leadership role in the American Medical Women's Association. I belong to the American Women's Surgical Association. And there are specific organizations for African American physicians. If you are a religious person, or maybe you have a strong ethnic association or a strong tie from a country that your family came from, there are organizations on those bases. So there's an Islamic medical association, a Catholic medical association, a Jewish medical association. There are groups in the United States of doctors who come from Pakistan. There's somebody in my Hope for Doctors 5-day challenge, and he's from Venezuela. I Googled, sure enough, there is an association of Venezuelan physicians in the US. If you're a Native American, there's that. If you have personally come from another country, maybe you want to network with foreign medical graduates. When I thought about what happens if hospitals are actually terminating doctors over 65, we already have a physician shortage. How are we going to meet that shortfall? Well, we're probably going to be turning to physician's assistants and nurse practitioners and foreign medical graduates. And by the way, all of those three groups, they are great tribes. So if you're not already working with them, you might want to explore working with them. Okay, so once you've actually found your association, you want to do your homework. So you want to read through the website. You want to understand what their mission statement and vision is. You want to write down the words and phrases that they're using. You want to see what kinds of educational events they're already offering. Are they doing webinars? Who's delivering the webinars? Is it just by physicians, or are they bringing in other kinds of experts? If it's all physicians, then that means that you know that you want to partner with a physician as you approach the medical association. Okay, why is this important? Well, you know that people like to work with people they know, like, and trust. And now neurosurgeon helps us understand why. The statement, I like you, is really, I am like you. I see part of myself reflected in you. So I remember reading this dating book. It was something like, how to make somebody fall in love with you in 60 seconds. And he was talking about the power of activating mirror neurons. So he was saying, when you're out on a date, you want to mirror the body language. You want to mirror speech patterns and the rate of speech. And what I'm suggesting to you is that as you market, what you want to do is mirror words back to people. And you think, well, doesn't that sound hokey if their mission statement is to enhance the integrity of the practice of medicine, and you are mirroring that back to them? No, it's not hokey. It's just they now feel familiar. You feel familiar, like there's something trustworthy about you, and you're not really doing anything more than mirroring them. So as you go to them, your job is not to sort of force feed your agenda into their throat. I think about how pate is made, how they fatten the geese. You don't want to just put a feeding tube in and just pour your agenda into them. What you want to do is look through what they offer, and then you figure out how you can plug into them. So that's the main reason for this gathering of intelligence phase. You want to figure out how your offerings are relevant to them. Okay, so now you've done your homework. Now you want to find a way to be introduced, ideally by a doctor. So the best way to do this is to go to your existing doctor clients and you ask them, to what associations do you belong? Like, what association publications are you reading? What emails are you opening? Who is offering you leadership? And that's the best way to find the association. And then you can ask your client or your prospect, do you think that the kind of value that I am delivering to you personally might be of value to other members? And you know what they're going to say. They're going to say, of course. And you could say something like, well, what do you think the best way to approach them would be? And I mean, the real win here is for a doctor to say, you know what, I know somebody who's on the educational committee. How about if I make a call for you? Now, you know that doctors do this. Doctors want to help other doctors. It's just like part of our DNA. And so if you just pose the question like, how can we get a more hopeful, optimistic, empowering ideas in front of more doctors, they will help. If they are not forthcoming with this, maybe they're new to the association, maybe they're new to the area, and they don't really have any ideas for you, they will be apologetic. And you can ask, well, I'll tell you what, I think I'm just going to contact the executive director, but may I mention your name? And so they are going to say yes. So then if you write them an email, the subject line from the email is referred by Dr. blah, blah, your member. Or if you call up the executive director and say, hello, this is Kevin, and I was referred by Dr. blah, blah, blah. that is sort of gonna help you get the attention in a different way. One of the things that my private coaching clients have been found very effective is just to use my name. You know, I'm working with Dr. Vicki Rackner. We're committed to helping doctors thrive. And I'm wondering if I might have a few minutes of your time to just understand what some of your biggest challenges are right now. So the most influential person in a doctor's life is another doctor. You want to take advantage of this. You want to have your physician evangelists lined up. And as you approach the associations, you definitely want to have a physician lined up. This is going to make it so much easier for you. Now, let me say that the executive director, especially of a national association, is almost always not a physician. These are marketing professionals who are hired because of their expertise to grow membership and to grow profits. So they know how to grow organizations. What they generally want is they want more members, they want more dollars. And they've also got experience. They have launched campaigns. They know what works, they know what doesn't work. They want to look good, they want to deliver value. So they're actually really helpful, because if they tell you, no, I don't think that's going to work, you should listen to them. Because if they don't think a campaign is going to work within the association, that's probably not a campaign that you want to go out to the medical marketplace with. So they are thinking outside of the box now. This is an outside of the box kind of time, and they really can be your ally. Okay, so then you want to reach out to the right person, and the right person is the easiest person to connect with, right? So if one of your doctor clients or doctor prospects or your neighbor or your friend knows somebody in the association, especially somebody who holds a leadership position, that's where to begin. You always want to be adding links in the chain of trust. And sometimes as I think about marketing to doctors, I think about, you know, climbing a really steep and tough mountain, you know, rock climbing. So you want to find whatever small finger holds and toe holds that you can find, because sometimes that is what it's like. So any way that you can add a link in the chain of trust is a way that you want to do it. And, you know, you can think creatively on LinkedIn, on Facebook. You know, you can maybe find a fraternity buddy that you went to college with 40 years ago. You've got a relationship. Maybe they're a doctor right now. So this is the time to sort of refresh all of your relationships. Think creatively about all the ways that you are connected with doctors, and then leverage those things. Is that worth the time and effort? Absolutely. Because trust building is a long road. And if you've already just got a little trust, even from the distant past, that is worth it. You know, rekindling that relationship is worth it. You know, I talk about the 3 buckets of leads that you can tap into. There's family, friends, and fans, people who already know, like, and trust you. There are the power partners. There are people with lists. Right now, we're talking about these executive directors, but there are other people, you know, medical billers. And then there are the doctor information seekers. So the family, friends, and fans bucket is always the first bucket to go into. This is where you're going to get the fastest wins, and you're going to go the furthest there. So always begin there. Okay, if you can't find one of those, then the executive director is probably the best person to reach. The medical director of state associations, they are really busy right now. They are putting out fires. They are working hard. So it could be that, you know, you've got to schedule a phone meeting, but you can reach them. Another great person to reach is the past president of the association. So if you just go to the website, they're probably going to have a tab that looks something like, executive committee. And the past president was just the president. They know about the challenges of the association, but they're not in the hot seat right now, right? They're not making choices for the association. So they've got more time and more energy to do it. Okay, so you've reached out to the right person. They've agreed to a 15-minute interview with you. Now you want to manage the relationship. And I just want to remind you that this isn't easy. Okay, you are managing this triangulated relationship. So there's three corners here. The medical association's wants and needs must be primary, because you're not going to make any progress with the medical associations unless you can help them understand how you are delivering value and helping them get what they want and need. So this is sort of an expansion of this message, this suggestion that you don't want to force your agenda into them. You're not making pate right now. You are there in the spirit of service, helping them get what they want and need. And let me just say right now that I do not think that this is the time to think about selling. This is the time to think about serving. But what do doctors want? Your doctor prospects and clients want to know that they can trust you to help them. Well, if you can solve their immediate cash flow problems right now, if you can overcome these challenges, these fires that they are dealing with, you now have built trust and built the relationship. And then when they're ready to turn their attention back to their estate plan, to their retirement plan, you are the obvious choice, because now you can start delivering yummy treats that are more about the long term. Okay, so the association's wants and needs have to be primary. The secondary are the doctor's wants and needs. So hopefully the association is going to open up the platform to you. They're going to give you the platform. Now, what you say from that platform has to be something the doctor members want and need. And again, you've been getting ideas for weeks now about what some of those ideas are. And then you want to build a sales funnel that's going to lead to your wants and needs. But for right now, my strong suggestion is that you be delivering an ongoing stream of value that allows you to build this relationship. So that's number one. But number two, you want to do this in a way that the doctor's names and emails get transferred from the association's list to your list. So remember, I told you about the digital versions of the book. There's two versions, one with the complete book and one with just the first chapter with a call to action to contact you. That's what you want to do metaphorically. You want to have the association mail out some of your value, some of your content, maybe an invitation to come to your webinar that they are hosting. And then you don't want to give them everything, right? You want to give them enough to whet their appetite in order for them to get on your list. So if this were like dating, partnering with the association is like signing up for the dating site. The dating site will help you get that first date, and your goal on the first date is to get a second date, right? It's not just a data dump. It's about how to get doctors on your list and get permission to deliver that ongoing stream of value. You may be able to get on the association's platform multiple times, maybe with different ways. Maybe you have a webinar, maybe you distribute an article, but I would definitely plan for this being like the big debut, and you want to capitalize on that. So you You need to be doing digital marketing right now. You need to be capturing doctors' names and email addresses. You need to get permission to send them ongoing content, and you need to stay in touch. There are so many new things happening. And by the way, I hope that you are in regular telephone contact with your existing doctor clients, because things are just changing so quickly that, first of all, doctors want and need to know that you are there for them. This is a great way to get more doctor prospects and clients. You know, I cannot tell you how many financial advisors are telling me, I am just so swamped. Like, my phone is ringing. I'm getting referrals off the hook. And if you are not in that situation, you might want to consider, okay, how can I be delivering more value? How do I get in touch with the doctors in my community? And I've got other tutorials about how to do that. But your phone should be ringing now. Okay, so with that model of this triangulated relationship, what you want to do is you want to show the association leader how they can get what they want through your offerings. So as you call them up, you know, the introduction is something like, we share a mission, and then you take language from their own website and repeat it back to them. You know, might I schedule a call with you to explore some of your biggest challenges? And, you know, this is a question that you want to bring to your doctor prospects and clients. Every day I'm calling financial advisors and asking, what are your biggest challenges? Why? It's because I want to be able to be in a position of helping you, right? You can be doing this with your prospects and clients now. And this is always a great approach when you are when you're approaching an association or anyone else. Okay, so you're on the call, and then what you want to do is you just want to listen. This is not a time for selling. This is not a time to pitch your talk. This is a time to just hear what they want. And then you say, okay, what I'm hearing you say is this. May I think about this and then get back to you with some ideas? And then you have them take out their calendar and you schedule a time for a follow-up appointment. And then you really sit down and you think about, okay, what can you offer to them that fits into what they are already doing? Like, if you see that every webinar is delivered by a doctor, what that means is you want to figure out what the webinar topic would be, and you want to have a doctor who's going to be there to co-present it with you. Or if you see that they've got lawyers or practice managers out, you want to take a look at specifically what those topics are. And then, you know, the offer that you make in this follow-up call will align with that. By the way, here's a little ninja trick. If you send out an email to any doctor, maybe it's sort of a cold lead who asked you, maybe you met through LinkedIn, and they're interested in getting your digital copy of the 9 money mistakes that doctors make. You can send it to them and then say, doctor, how about if I follow up with you on Friday at 11 a.m.? And then when you call up, you can say, the doctor's expecting my call if the gatekeeper tries to screen you out. Just a little ninja trick there. Okay, so I just want to warn you that you're not going to bat 1,000. And there are some reasons that have nothing to do with you. So the first is that you are perceived as somebody with an inherent financial conflict. So I'm just going to sort of go down a little rabbit hole and help you understand this, because this is important for you. So remember when the Affordable Care Act came into being, the government understood that they were going to be on the hook for a lot of medical bills. And so part of the Affordable Care Act legislation was this Freedom of Information Act. So, for example, for the first time in Medicare history, the amount of money that Medicare paid individual doctors was a matter of public record. So that was seen, and once that was seen, it was clear that there were like Medicare outliers. And believe it or not, there were like these efforts to target the outliers, and there were like bounty hunters. Like if people could find the outliers and find doctors who were perpetuating Medicare fraud, these bounty hunters actually got like a portion of what they collected. Okay, so there was that part. But there was another part. And the government realized that they were going to be paying a lot of money for drugs. Now, the real masters at influencing the purchasing habits of doctors are the pharmaceutical industry. You should watch what they're doing, and you should do some of those things. Okay, so let's say that a drug company had like a new medication for MS. What would they do? Well, what they would do is they would go out and find the key physician opinion leader in MS. They would get that person on board on the team. They would develop the drug, so this key physician opinion leader would help recruit people to come in and help. And then they would go out and they would do dinner meetings. You know, they would invite the doctors to a fancy dinner. And, you know, if a doctor's at a fancy dinner, no doctor would say, oh, I'm prescribing this medication because I was just invited to this nice dinner. No, but we know the reality. And so there is now this disclosure. If you have, if any doctor who is presenting or anyone who is presenting has a financial relationship with a drug company or with a medical device company, that has to be disclosed. And sometimes that will mean that that doctor is not invited onto platforms. Well, you have an inherent, what's perceived as a conflict of interest, and it sounds crazy, I know, but you have a way of monetizing this relationship. And so there are many platforms that are closed to you. Now, I think that things are changing because of COVID, but if they say no to you, this might be the reason. Again, that is a really great reason to partner with a physician. You know, if you do partner with a physician, like when I do this with my clients, when I deliver webinars, you know, sometimes the advisor's name isn't even there. But if I'm doing with an advisor, then obviously the call to action at the end is going to be a call that, you know, will bring a doctor to the value that you deliver, like your landing page. Or I will say in the webinar, you know, you need to work with a financial advisor who works with doctors every day. So it will be describing you. Next, you should be aware that some associations generate revenue by selling financial products and services themselves. So many of the dental associations fall in this category. The AMA does that, not that you'd approach the AMA anyway, but they might say no to you because they have this existing relationship. Or maybe the executive director has a brother-in-law and they're trying to protect the brother-in-law. So if they say no to you, you know, this might be another reason. Another thing that you need to be aware of is that there could have been somebody who just did a terrible job. The executive director took a risk. They brought in somebody and it was just a sales pitch, a glorified sales pitch. That reflects very poorly on the executive director because every time they launch a campaign or they bring in a speaker, they're putting their reputation on the line because they're supposed to screen out bad people. And if they've had a dud in the past, they might just decide, you know what, no more financial advisors. So if they're saying no to you, you could ask them, hey, you know, I know that there are a lot of people who've been burned in the past. Is that the case for you? And you might hear, an, oh my God, let me tell you about the last time we invited somebody in. And, you know, you could empathically say, oh, I get it. And just with that empathy, you might be able to change their mind. But if they say no, that's okay. You know, you can just put on your big boy or big girl pants and just go on to the next one, because you're not going to be batting 1,000 as you approach the associations. All right, in the remaining moments, let me just say that medical meetings will resume. Like, once we're not focusing all of our time on COVID-19, we will be back to normal. So I don't know what medical meetings will look like. I do not know if they will be virtual meetings, because a lot of physicians are really delighted with how well these virtual get-togethers are going. There is a magic in physical meetings, though. So you can be watching the association, seeing how they manage their upcoming meetings. If they are doing physical meetings, I encourage you to take a look at a vendor booth. Some of these are going to be bargains. So just being in the same physical place as doctors has tremendous benefits. Just by being there, just the kinds of conversations that you would have, not necessarily at the booth, but just other physical places, can be tremendous. Further, while the doctors are in their scientific session, you can go around and network with the other vendors. Every single vendor at the meeting is potentially a power partner. So this is a great opportunity for you to network with the person who can help you do more leverage marketing, because all of the vendors have lists of doctors too, right? So just like we're talking today about how you approach the association, you can also approach all of these vendors and potentially set up a plan to deliver webinars for them. This is huge. If you do educational events, if you do seminar marketing, maybe you can think about hosting a breakfast event before the scientific session begins. Doctors tend to be morning people, you know, they're early risers, and they can and will come to a 6 a.m. breakfast meeting. There are some advisors I've helped actually get on the platforms. So they were speakers, you know, the association paid for their travel expenses, and then they had the credibility of being on the platform. And I'm not talking about one of those pay to play where, like, if you're a sponsor, you get 10 minutes on this platform. I mean, like, they were on the agenda and they were delivering content. One little trick that has happened in the past, and actually he was a revenue manager. He hired me to come to the meeting and do a book signing, and they actually put the book signing on the agenda. So you can get creative with these medical meetings and the vendor presence. I just want to warn you, as you approach the medical associations, the executive director is going to put you in a box. They're going to put you in the vendor box, and probably what they will try to do in your conversation with them is sell you ads, you know, sell you the opportunity to be on their website. And, you know, if you're feeling generous, you know, feel welcome to do that. But there are two problems with this. The first is I have yet to talk with an advisor who's gotten any business from just putting their name on the site. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that you don't want to be in the vendor box. You want to be in the expert box. And if you do say yes to this vendor, I think that you've lost the expert positioning. And that's the power of this whole thing. So I recommend against doing that. Inevitably, you know, if you are a vendor, they will, you know, maybe offer, you know, 5 minutes in front of the formal webinar presentation. I advise against that. Okay, so again, when you're here, I recommend not selling, don't sell. Your goal is to just get names and get permission to move to that next step. So I hope that I have inspired you to take action. Hopefully you have gotten what you need to take these ideas and implement them on your own. If you want some laser coaching, please feel welcome to go to the bottom of any page on the Targeting Doctors website and set up a 15-minute complimentary consultation. But you know me, I'm always wanting to give people the competitive advantage. So if you would like to explore how I might be able to help you open the red velvet rope and really turbocharge this effort to get into medical associations, I do have limited time slots, and I will be working with limited amount of financial advisors. I just really want to thank you for the work that you're doing. Please let me know how I can help you. So thanks again. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.